Hey everybody, I think we're live. Looks like we might have had an error on one of the platforms, which is fine. We'll reshare it over there later. But welcome to Chip Talks. Got some things to say this morning, so this one might go a little bit longer than the kind of quickies that we've been doing lately. Upcoming, we're going to be talking about a lot of biohacks really into this very problem that I'm going to talk about today, which is parasites, which is pathogens. Boy, is this a big topic. Okay. And let me just start this by giving you a description of what happens when you get hookworm and pinworms. So this is the easiest way to do this. And I think this will be an apt description, but then I'm a little frustrated today. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about some things that I have going on with people around me and the abject failure of the medical system, the abject failure of the medical system. So it's just there's no better way to say it than that. But let's talk you through kind of what's going on first, and then we'll talk about some real world examples of basically how this is affecting you, or could be affecting you right now, or your loved ones, or good Lord, if you go into the hospital, this certainly will be affecting you. So let's use some logic first, and let's talk some things through. Okay, so we get infected with something. Now, first of all, you're not boy in the bubble. That's the way that we're taught. That's the way that we're all taught to think, right? That we're this boy in the bubble, that we've got this bubble around us. Heaven forbid anything worm its way into our bubble. But if it does, we're screwed. We're screwed. We're going to get COVID if it worms its way into our bubble. That's why we have to wear masks and distance 6 feet. We're going to get, whatever if it worms its way into our bubble. No, that's not the way that it works. That's not the way that it works at all. And again, if you want proof of this, please just Google some of the things that I'm telling you. But again, very easy to substantiate what I'm going to tell you. Okay, so that's not the way that you work at all. You have an immune system. That immune system is, I'm a Star Trek guy, so I like to think of it like shields, but it's variable. It takes energy to put up your shields. At certain times, your shields are weaker than they are because, again, you can't always have energy to your shield. You got to power the ship. You got to move around. You got to do a bunch of other stuff, right? So it takes energy to power our immune system. But if our immune system is properly powered, and again, we all kind of have the same robust immune system. My immune system is no different than my wife's, is no different than yours. It all works in the same way, and it can all express the same robustness. However, the difference in how I deal with things, or my wife deals with things, or you deal with things, has to do more with diet and behavior. Okay? So if you're not eating the right things, you've got a weaker shield response. When you eat, and for 5 hours after you eat, you have very minimal shield response. If you're at breakfast, lunch, dinner, drink a pop in between, eat that donut before you go to bed, you don't have much of an immune system, okay? So I'm just telling you that, first of all, intermittent fast, that's how you work your shields, and understand when to eat. There's certain times when we should eat. If you eat at noon, you're interrupting the work that's done on your heart. So have fun with that lunch today. Seriously, if you eat at noon, if you eat between 11 and 1 a.m., you're interrupting the time of day where your body works on your heart. Okay? So don't do that. By the way, no one ever gave me an operations manual for this thing. I wrote one. So if you go to our True Medics website, so TRUEMEDX, I should have a banner up for that. I'll try to do one while I'm talking. Let's see if I could get that in without you guys noticing. But anyway, TRUEMEDX.com. Let me just put that in a banner right now. So TRUEMEDX.com. So if you go there, and you basically, there should be a way to download this book, that I've written. This is just kind of an operations manual for you. And it's all research backed. So again, there's nothing in there that you couldn't find addressed in a research paper, let's say. But anyway, back to our topic. So, and we'll take that banner away because I know that gets annoying, and I'll pop it back up at the end if you want to see it. But let's continue. So again, we all have this immune system, right? But it's a variable thing. So every time we eat, we drop our immune system. If you're breakfast, lunch, and dinner, if you're drinking sodas and pops and energy drinks and all that kind of crap in between your meals, you're always here. You have no immune system. You're a boy without a bubble. You have no immune system, okay, or very little. You can certainly still fight things off, but something like a hook, and I want to use hook, round, and pinworms as an example because they're very common. Our dogs get them. It's what we deworm our dogs for. Our horses get them. Our cows get them. So we know that they're prevalent. We know that all mammals get them, and you get them just as equally as your horses, pigs, cows, dogs, cats. Okay. So we're going to use those as an example because so many of us have them, and we don't know that we have them. All right. So if you're breakfast, lunch, and dinner, I'm drinking my energy drinks and all that, you don't really have much of an immune system. And if these guys infect you, so if a hook, round, and pinworm somehow gets inside of you, and that's pretty easy because you're a boy without a bubble, if that gets inside of you, then again, it's going to beat you. And what do I mean by that? You have a super sophisticated immune system, even without your bubble, even when your shields are down, you still have a really robust and sophisticated immune system. It's way better with your shields are up. You can fight a lot of this stuff up, but I'm going to kind of give you an example of this. But when your shields are down, when you're in a fed state, these guys can get you and they can beat your immune system. And what do I mean by that? They set up a little fort. And again, they'll set up a little fort, and in that little micro area, they're beating your immune system. They're winning. They're beating you. The other thing that they're doing is they're feeding off of you because that's what these guys do. They're parasitic. So what do? Well, they begin to suck your blood. So anybody been told that you're anemic? Anybody been told that you're low iron? Well, guess what? You likely have a hook, round, and pinworm infection because God's a perfect engineer. He designed you perfect. You just don't all of a sudden, oh, I think I'll become anemic today, or oh, I think I'll, lack iron today. Doesn't work that way. Your body is a super sophisticated machine, always striving toward perfect, always striving toward perfect function, perfect, 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 perfect. And yet all of us do this. And this is the reason. I'm describing to you the reason why we do this and not this all the time. You're built to run for a long, long time. We destroy ourselves is what happens. And we really destroy ourselves by our behavior. But anyway, because we're breakfast, lunch, and dinner, we're energy drinks and all this, we'll get infected with something and it will begin to beat us. As it beats us, let me walk you through this. So as it beats us, what begins to happen? Again, we have a little bit of inflammation if one or two of these guys, sort of get hooked into our gut. But, our immune system's working on it. But, it's like I'm working on a lot of other stuff, right? So I'm, fighting this, but I'm doing that. I'm trying to keep COVID away from you. I'm trying to keep those, allergies away. And, I've got a lot of stuff I've got to deal with, but I'm kind of dealing with these hook, round, and pinworms. But again, they're sucking your blood. So you're going to become anemic, start becoming anemic. You'll start becoming low iron. Now, they're going to grow. They're going to proliferate. They're going to reproduce. They're going to expand. And they will beat you if you're not intermittent fasting. It's just that easy. If you're not paying attention to your body, they're going to beat you. They're going to begin to win. So now, what started as a little bit lighter and kind of no big deal to your immune system, now it's like, whoa, I got to get on this, your immune system says. Blah. And you start throwing immune mediators like crazy at this now brush fire and growing brush fire because it's beating you. And your body understands that, and your body understands it'll kill you if you don't kill it. So you begin to take a lot of focus and attention on this infection. Now, what happens to all the other systems? They suffer. You're a resource constrained vehicle. You only have so much gas and oil and things like that, right? So again, if you're fighting a brush fire, something's suffering. You're not going to be as robust in your immune response to things like COVID. You're not going to be as good at fighting off allergies. In fact, it may seem to you like, oh, my allergies have gotten worse over the years. No, your chronic infection has gotten worse over the years, and you don't have as many resources to fight your allergies. So anyway, but this happens. And again, so now what begins to happen? Well, now, again, where do these immune mediators come from? Well, they're coming from blood. They're coming, well, they're transported in blood. They're coming from your bone. So you can handle a certain rate of turnover. We're all built to be able to build stem cells at a certain rate and handle a certain turnover. But no, you've got a brush fire going on. You've exceeded that turnover rate. And now you begin to lose things from your bone because stem cells come from bone. So osteoporosis will begin to show up. Again, does this mean that God has cursed you with osteoporosis? No, it means you have a hook-rounded pinworm infection. God is a perfect engineer. You don't just break, it takes a cause. So then what happens next? Well, now you're moving all this stuff around in blood, so your blood pressure is going to go up. Your blood will thicken and your blood pressure will go up. Does it mean that, oh, I'm just getting old, my blood pressure's going up? No, you have some infection, chronic infection. Then what will happen next is what has to filter all that blood? Those would be the kidneys. And the kidneys begin to get tired. It's like, Chip, I'm tired. I'm having to filter all this infected goo with all these immune mediators in it. I'm tired. I'm going to start throwing off diabetic markers. Boop, boop, boop. So now you begin to develop diabetes. Do you have diabetes? No, you have a hook-rounded pinworm infection. What happens next? Well, again, it's easy to pump thin hydraulic fluid. It becomes way more difficult to pump thick hydraulic fluid, right? It's way harder. So now my heart becomes involved and my heart becomes stressed, right? So if somebody tells you, oh, well, I'm sorry, your grandma's in the hospital. She's got chronic kidney failure. No, she doesn't. That's the manifestation of what she's got going on. I mean, her kidneys might be failing, but that's not the cause of what's going on with her. God is a perfect engineer. Your kidneys don't just fail. It takes something. And again, usually that's a chronic infection. Usually it's hook-rounded pin or some other type of bacteria, fungus, parasite that we don't know that we have. We don't have any way to get feedback on this. We don't have, and again, conveniently, I would say our medical system has no way to test for this unless it gets to criticality. Conveniently, none of this is in the triage of thinking of how to treat anyone. I find that interesting, let's say, exception. I don't know about you guys, but that, is interesting. Why would you leave that out? That seems to be a very important thing. It seems to be the cause of most disease. So why would you leave out pathogenic infection, pathogenic interference, pathogenic, things from every single triage almost in pharma, right? So it's, have you been to any foreign countries, any third world countries? Well, then you're going to get, triage down the pathogen path, but, you won't normally. So let me give you an example of this and why this is super important. And again, what the data that I have to support everything that I'm saying. So I'm trying to help a friend right now who is in a crisis situation with one of his relatives. His relatives is having kidney failure. And this kidney failure really was brought about by bad kidney markers, somewhat, diabetic or pre-diabetic. And I don't have all his pre-symptoms, but again, all of this just screams that, one of these infections, right, that has him kind of hijacked and has him in a loop. So it's, affecting his blood, it's affecting his kidneys, all that. So again, kidney, dysfunction, let's say, but the solution for it was dialysis. All right. Which makes sense. And that's in the protocol of all medicine. You have a kidney failure. Well, somebody needs dialysis. In fact, I even know one of the guys who holds a patent on dialysis. He was the father of one of my friends when I was growing up, which was really cool. But again, what does dialysis do? Well, it's a miracle. If you have gooey blood, it's going to clean your blood and it's going to save a lot of work on your kidneys. But when your blood gets cleaned, what gets cleaned out of your blood? So certainly the detritus and the, crap from, all the, let's say, infection and all the, junk, the dead bodies, let's say, that you're cleaning up. So you want that filtered out, that's what the kidneys do. But what you don't want filtered out is all the immune mediators, because those immune mediators are keeping whatever it is in check. So even though the blood is thick and gooey and gross, It's filled with immune mediators that are important to that individual because it's sort of keeping that balancing act going. So as soon as you take those away, well, guess what? That thing, that whatever it is, that hookworm and pinworm infection, that COVID infection, that it doesn't really matter what's the genesis of it is, it now has free reign, right? So you've just taken down every single barrier in your immune system and you've let that guy run and you've let that guy go. So depending on how bad he is and, if he's a master bug or not, I mean, he can cause all kinds of problems. But here's some tips and techniques for you guys. And this will help you kind of, let's say, push back against the medical system if you have somebody in crisis. So you'll always have access to blood tests. And you can get a lot of information about what's going on with someone just from a blood test. Because again, all this action, kind of happens in blood, right? So one of the things to look for in a blood test, just right off, is high white, low red. And again, first of all, I'm not a doctor. This is not medical advice. This is just something that I've learned on my own. Please check with a doctor if you've got stuff going on, but good luck. Do your own research, I would say. But again, I can't professionally advise you here because I'm not credentialed. So, take that for what it's worth. But I will tell you, I've spent a lot of time here. So again, when you're looking at a blood test, again, high white blood cells mean that your body is having an immune reaction. It means that as these stem cells come out of your bone, and a stem cell, when it comes out of your bone, it can be a white blood cell, it can be a red blood cell, it can be a neutrophil, it can be a lymphocyte, it can be a whole bunch of different stuff. But it's important to understand kind of what that decision tree is. And if that decision tree is stuck in a certain way. So always, if you're infected, you're going to express a lot of white blood cells. That's just how your body builds immune mediators. And white blood cells you can think of as kind of your immune system, part of your immune system, how you're fighting disease, how you're fighting things. So if you have a high white blood cell count, that means that your body thinks it's fighting disease. So it's making a lot of white blood cells to fight disease. Red blood cells would suffer. So you have a certain turnover rate of stem cells. You can, differentiate those into red blood cells or white blood cells. So you have a kind of a certain turnover rate, but if you're infected, you're going to be stepping on the gas in the white and the red blood cells are going to go down. Now, what does that mean? Well, you can't carry as much oxygen. Okay. If your white blood cells are high, if you're having an immune response, basically you're going to be making more whites over reds. Again, you only have so many that you can make at a certain time, and it's going to affect your ability to breathe. So it's going to affect your O2 rate. So what happens when people get really sick? Their pulse ox goes down, doesn't it? So, and that's exactly what, that's the sort of physical or symptomatic manifestation of this high white, low red. So you're going to have to breathe more. You're going to have take more breaths. You're going to have more respiration to get oxygen, more through your body. And in very severe cases, you're going to have to be on oxygen. And in very, very severe cases, that can kill you because you can't oxygenate your body. Okay. So, but white blood cell, red blood cell, very important to look at in a blood test. Now, the other thing that's really important in a blood test, and most blood tests have these, is, again, further differentiation. So as those stem cells come out, red blood cell, white blood cell, some of those white blood cells, let's say, will be further differentiated into lymphocytes, neutrophils, monocytes, all different manner of immune mediators. But you can tell what your immune system is trying to do if you look at neutrophils. Okay, so if I'm a bug, you have two different types of immune responses. You have something called your innate immune response, which is a kill it. I'm going to see that thing and I'm just going to try to kill it right off. And I'm going to use, my suite of immune mediators to do that. Blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to try to kill that thing. So that's called an innate immune response. And you'll always have that the first time your body sees things, right? So if you see something that's not you and you identify it as something that's not you and dangerous, you're going to have an innate immune response and try to kill it. Now, your more robust immune response is called an adaptive immune response. And that's the first, you've seen something the first time, you did the innate immune response and you didn't kill it. Well, now you're going to go to work. And you're going to do some more sophisticated things. So you're going to begin to build these immune mediators that look like these reindeer with got giant antennas all over them. They're called antibodies, right? So, but you're going to build these guys and these antibodies based on the fact that you saw that thing before and that you couldn't kill it. So now you're going to go out and try to neutralize it with antibodies. So that's called an adaptive immune response. If I'm a bug, if I'm something that's trying to infect you, one of those is going to kill me. Okay. Just you might be able to kill me with your innate immune response, but it's unlikely. I've seen that for billions of years. I've evolutionarily evolved around that. So it's unlikely you're going to kill me with your innate immune response. And again, it's same in mammals. So if I'm a bug, I've also seen that in chickens, pigs, cows. I beat that guy. So you're not going to get me with an innate immune response, but you might get me with an adaptive immune response. So it's incumbent upon me as a bug to stick you, to stick your immune response in one or the other. So whichever thing is not going to kill me, right? And that is exactly what happens in a lot of cases. So this is what you can see with neutrophils. So if you see a really, really high neutrophil count, that means that that person has been hijacked. That person is stuck in an innate immune response, and likely the infection's just continuing because, again, it's not going to kill it. So fine, bring your innate stuff to me. It will not kill me, only adaptive will. So again, that has to change before this situation changes. So anyway, you can read all that from a blood test, which is kind of cool. Platelets are also important because, again, that is how you are moving things around. Platelets are your kind of autophagy thing that helps in your immune response. And they're also how you basically, generate a blood clot, right? So they're important in that respect. So low platelets, again, is not something that you want to see in an immune response. You want your platelets to be average or high. You don't want them to be too high either, but platelets is another indication. So all that to say this, again, let's say you're in the hospital with a loved one, and I literally have someone who's in this situation. And, a physician is talking to you about that loved one, and kidney failure, let's say. The hospital protocols around that are bleak. And again, if a kidney is failing, unless it's had some kind of trauma, unless it's had some kind of cancer or, nuclear radiation, or it's just almost too far gone with infection, treats the infection. And again, the way that the medical system would treat an infection, even if they saw it, would be with antibiotics. Now, pharmaceutical antibiotics work kind of the first time that you administer them, but bugs are smart. They will evade pharmaceutical antibiotics. But nature is smarter, and nature has been killing bugs for a long time. So as we begin to understand nature, and as we begin to understand, let's say, how natural products address these pathogens, these bugs, then we're going to be a lot better off. So example, I would give you a certain round of, we won't, name the antibiotic or the pharmaceutical company, but let's say I would give a round of antibiotics to you for kidney infection. And again, why? Because those have been shown to work. They've worked for years. Thank God somebody came up with them. They've saved thousands and thousands and thousands of lives. But we have a deeper understanding now, and we're still stuck trying to force people into that box. So was that good? Yes. Are those antibiotics valuable? Yes. But guess what's happening now? All of these bugs are able to basically circumvent antibiotics. So they're smart enough to get around most of the suite of antibiotics now. So where do we go now? Does that just mean we're screwed? We're just going to die of infection and we might as well give it up? No, we go to nature, because nature has always fought these bugs and nature always wins. Okay. And you want examples of this? Let's go with a deer. All right. So, and again, you have to go with the deer in the wild. You can't go with the deer they're eating at your corn feeder. Okay. But a deer in the wild does not get IBS, does not get Crohn's disease, does not get cancer. does not die of kidney failure. Deer in the wild either get eaten by something, and they can catch, some kind of virus, fungus, or bacteria stuff, but it's not at the level that they do in captivity. Now, why is that? Why would a deer in captivity be more susceptible to disease than a deer in the wild? Food. It's just as simple as food. And friends, you're a deer in captivity. It's just that simple. We have to learn to be a deer in the wild again. So, how do we do that? Peruse our website, check out kind of what we're doing, because we feel like we're on it. So check out truemedics.com. If you're concerned about any of these things being inside of you, again, we have a clinical situation called neighborly wellness. So come see us at our clinic. I'd love to help you. That's what I do every single day, is I try to help people with these thoughts. So anyway, that's a lot. So sorry. But if you come see us, you're going to get this same message. Now, what can you do just generally? Let's talk about that real quick, because this is, scary stuff. It just, Chip, you've told me that, my gosh, stuff is everywhere. I'm going to get infected. It's going to crash my kidneys. It's going to hurt my heart. What do I do? Well, first of all, learn to work your immune system. And what I mean by that is, if we intermittent fast, we have a way stronger immune system. Okay. So we all have to eat right now. Hopefully we'll get to where we don't have to eat at some point, because eating is costly. We drop our immune system, right? So we all have to eat right now. So the less time you can spend eating, the better. And I'm not saying eat less food. I haven't said that at all. Eat the same amount of food, eat more. It doesn't really matter. I'll give you a little secret. All right. So this is a little secret that likely could be its own podcast, and it will, over time. Next month is summer sun month. So we'll be talking a lot about the sun. But let me just give you a little secret, which is kind of cool. So we all know, what do you need to stay alive every day, Chip? Well, I need, 2,000 calories, and I have to have a certain, nutrient slate within that. And that's going to keep me alive. Oh, really? All right, let's do some math, because this is always fun. By the way, this is pretty occulted. It's hard to get these numbers, but you can get them on your own. But I'll try to make it easy for you. So you're about like a 100-watt light bulb. If you're just sitting there on the couch eating Cheetos and watching TV, but don't eat the Cheetos. So let's say you're about like a 100-watt light bulb. If you're doing nothing, kind of laying in bed, you're a 100-watt light bulb. If you're doing things and you're way brighter than that, you're burning way more energy than that. Certainly if you're an athlete or things like that, then you're way, way, way brighter than that. But again, most of us are like a 100-watt light bulb. So how much energy, how many calories does it take to generate 100 watts for a period of time? Well, it turns out I can take 600 calories and I can generate 100 watts of power for 1 hour. Okay. So 600 calories, 100-watt light bulb, 1 hour. Let's make the math easy. So you're awake for 24 hours, but let's just use 20 because it's easy math. So 20 times 600 is 12,000 calories. That's what you output every day. Now, if you're an engineer like I am, you have to input that amount in some way. It might not be ways that we think, but you're going to have to input that amount in order to output that amount. Energy is conserved. You certainly neither create nor destroy energy. You conserve energy, right? So as much energy goes into you as comes out of you every day, provided we understand the box that you're in. That's another trick. But anyway, so 12,000 calories. Wow, that's a lot. That's way more than I eat. Where does it come from? It comes from the sun. It comes from radiant energy that we get all over the place. So sun's, let's say, power is pinging off of you, even if you're inside. It's penetrating the building that you're in. And so you're getting, some juice from the sun, even if you're underground. You're certainly getting vibration from the sun, even if you're underground. So it's literally what makes the earth is the sun. So everything kind of, has its genesis in the sun. Anyway, so that we went far afield there from our parasites, but what kills parasites? The sun. UV kills parasites, which is interesting. So that'll be our ultimate answer to be free from these guys that want to infect us. So don't let the medical system triage you or your family into situations where you're convinced that, it's God is not a perfect engineer and that your kidneys just fail or your heart just fails or your lungs just fail or things like that. So that's not the way you work. Your gut doesn't just get leaky. You don't just get an autoimmune. You just don't get things like cancer. Doesn't work that way. There's always a cause. And for most of us, that cause is some kind of infection, caused by these critters. Certainly can be environmental, certainly can be allergies. Might likely have to do a lot with, heavy metals. And there's certainly a lot of those around in the sky, aren't there? So anyway, we'll leave it there. That's a good bit of information for today. If you guys need anything, reach out, say hi. Always look at comments, posts, things that come back to us. So we're always, and again, if you have a topic that you want me to dive down, happy to do that as well. So see you guys later. Bye.